Okay, welcome back from that short break, and I'm really glad that you stayed with us because this segment is just something you should miss at all. Don't forget, we still have the delectable Uju Obianuju Honora in the studio. Obianuju, yeah. Before the short break, we were talking. You were saying something about what junk foods are. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, the three things that majorly make what a food called junk is that first of all, it's processed, right, and it's gone through some process of, changing it from its original state. Take, for example, when we talk about potatoes, I mean, your own potatoes, you turn it into potato chips. That's processing. Generally, when you cook anyways, or bake or do anything, it's actually process. It's a processing.
It turns to junk.
No, that's the thing. So that's why that's not the only criterion, if I'm going to say. So you have that these foods also are high in fat, they're high in calorie, they're high in sugar and salt. So in the process of making it, let's say, let's go back to the potato chips, right? In the process of making potato chips, you need oil, you're going to need this amount of salt to give it this, I don't know, we all take potato chips to give it this salty, tangy taste. So these are some of the things that determine that this is a junk food.
Okay.
And then most importantly, I think that's most importantly, most processed foods are not, they don't have high nutritional value. You don't get to see good fat, healthy fat, because they are healthy fats. You don't get to see good source of protein. You don't get to see fiber, which is very good in the body. So these things are low, and then they are high in sugar, salt, sugar, salt, calories, and then fat.
All right, so from what you have said, it feels like it's not the raw food itself that's the problem. It's the process it has gone through.
Exactly.
Okay, so in that case, can you please itemize some of the things that can be seen as junk food and some that are not junk food?
Yeah. Okay, in a very most common way, we know our general meat pies, our donuts, some of them are mostly processed, if not even all, right? But it doesn't end there. Most canned frozen foods are processed foods, but they are not junk per se. Now, what sometimes makes these foods junk is that if they are really high in these things, calories, salt, sugar, and sodium, you look at these things. Now, a typical pizza is full of cheese, one slice
vegetables,
of cheese. Do they have vegetables in a typical pizza?
Oh, okay, I know what you're saying now, the typical one. Okay.
A typical, except of course you're going to go home or you're making it at home, and that's something else. How many people get to have the time to make a homemade pizza? So a typical commercial produced pizza is high in cheese, which is really fatty, already saturated fat. The flour crust itself, high calorie. I mean, salt, salt to bring out the taste, spices too. These are just a whole lot of things. So that's junk. So you look at it from the perspective of these three things I mentioned, right? It's a process, but that's not all. That calorie is high in calories, high in fat, it's sugary. I mean, we talk about our soda drink. Soda drinks are like junk at the top of it. The junk is a junk drink in this case, right? So your commercial produced snacks, why I use the word commercial is because when you're making it at home, there's a chance, right? There's a chance that you could lessen some of these sugar, salt, and that sort of makes it maybe better.
But then it's still a junk food.
Yeah, it's a junk food.
Back to what I asked earlier. Do most people that take junk food, or rather, that would I gave cited an instance with someone living in Lagos, not like Perpetua. I'm not trying to talk for myself because I know you're going to say that very soon. But then it's not that they want to, but because most times they're left with no choice. So is there a way people can try to be healthy in an environment like this, especially in traffic? You'll see people selling all sorts. I know you're going to get to work late or you get home late, so you have no choice than to just grab a drink, grab a sausage and fill your stomach, so you just go home and rest. So is it a way to marry all of those things together?
There is.
Okay.
So the first thing I normally say, because I have some of these things, experiences with my clients, the first thing I tell them is that you have to come to a place of understanding, right, or awareness that healthy eating is actually intentional.
Okay.
Yes, it's not a random. It's not something, the same way you are intentional about brushing your teeth. I mean, I don't think you could leave the house without brushing your teeth. I mean, so that is the first thing. Come to that awareness that I have to be intentional about what goes in and what goes out. And guess what? Guess what? When you get to that point of intentionality about what goes in, what goes out, despite the traffic, despite the, I don't know, whatever, it changes how you begin to grab on these things. That's one.
Okay.
That's changing it from the mind. Then, of course, yes, it's understandable. We're busy. We have work. We have family. We have a whole lot of things. Seems like 24 hours is not even enough, you know, right? But there's something we call meal prepping, right? This is something I feel like is a game changer for anybody who's really intentional. Remember, that's what I said in the first instance, being intentional. So meal prepping just basically involves, as the name implies, prepping things that you probably you eat, prepping them ahead of when you would eat them. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Let me use a typical, I think I should use moms, right? Because I mean, it seems like juggling family and work. So let's use a mom. A mom has maybe a 9 to 5, right? I mean, Mondays to Friday, she has work, right? I mean, she wants to be intentional about her healthy eating, right? So she could do this. How about Fridays after work, if it's possible, I could do my grocery shopping. Or how about Saturdays, I could do my grocery shopping after resting in the morning. Then when I do my grocery shopping on Saturdays, if I have the energy, if I have the strength, I do what I call meal prepping. Now after grocery, you get your healthy food, all those, you know, your whole food. You get those things you know you would need probably for a week or even 2. Example, okay, let me talk about smoothies. Let's say that, will I use the time? Will I call it time, or that point or space where you're taking, or where an individual is taking maybe let's say a bar of sausage roll, or with one mighty soda drink, you could already, because you have meal prepped, you have a handy smoothie at hand. You have a smoothie at hand. You just reach out for it. You're taking it to work. It makes it easier. So now meal prepping, let me get back to that. I think I jumped what I wanted to say, right? So I get these things. I get my fruits, I get my vegetables, right? Typical what I tell my clients is get containers, right? Plastic, Tupperware containers. Cut up these things how you want to use them into the new week. So if I know already I'm going to have maybe vegetable spaghetti or something into the new week. This is planning, and it's probably sounds a bit, you know, big work, but it's not really. And you know, habits over time becomes easier and gets to be a lifestyle. You know that, right? So it's all about taking that step to do this. So I get those. I want to cook spaghetti. I know I need my carrots, my green peas, and all those things. 1 Tupperware for it. I've already cut them up. I'm using, after grocery shopping, I'm doing this. This is happening all in one day. I've cut them up, right? I put them in 1 Tupperware. Okay, I think this week I'm going to take a green smoothie. I'm going to have another maybe banana. I cut this one up in these Tupperwares and store. And guess what? I come back home, or I'm going to work, or I feel like, oh, so tomorrow I'm going to take that green smoothie. I already have all my ingredients in 1 Tupperware.
So that makes it easier.
I get to take it to work.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
So it's just meal prepping. It's work, but it's good work.
Oh, good work and good work.
Okay. Just before we go, I'd like you to tell us or intimate us basically with the effects of stocking up junk foods into our system.
Okay. I think the most basic one is overweight, weight gain. Basic weight gain. But why I do not like to dwell on weight gain too much is that some people are lucky. If I use the word lucky, there are people that they're clients or people that I have come to work with, and they're not necessarily big. They're not big, but they're eating junk. They're eating so much junk, and they're not adding up. Then there are some others that they eat these things and they add up. You know, body physiologies differ. What works for you? You do the same way you're going to take a slice of pizza. When you take a slice of pizza and you take a slice of pizza, guess what? Your body will use them differently. Probably your body may store more, or then your body would use up more. Body metabolism differs. So the first obvious sign of somebody who probably consumes too much junk is weight gain, obesity. But now, let's say you do not have it. The second one, which whether the person is slim, whether the person is,
Adding
whatever
weight
size
or not.
taking excessive intake of junks, right, increases your risk, a person's risk to cardiovascular diseases and diabetes type 2. And that is why I tell people, that mentality that people say when you are 40, 45, 50, that you would have diabetes, the person will have diabetes type 2, is an old man. It's because of the earlier lifestyle choices. It's very possible to be 40, 45, 50, whatever, and not have these things. So it starts from the whole junk food intake. So if over time I'm consistently taking junk foods, the chances of me having diabetes type 2, cardiovascular disease increases, because there's a buildup of fat in my arteries, my blood vessels. Yes, because diabetes type 2 has been linked with obesity, has been linked with sugar. I mean, I'm constantly pumping up sugar, and then the insulin is overworking itself. The insulin is probably, body's not using up the insulin. So these are all, it doesn't happen now. It doesn't happen
It's
now.
over time.
It's over time, a consistent intake.
All right, Uju, you talked about junk food. Now, you also mentioned that it's good to meal prep.
Yeah.
And I understand some people, they tend to, in the name of meal prepping rather, they take so much food, they take their food and they store it up so much and keep constant microwaving or heating up. So does that, when the nutritional values of a food that's dropped, especially vegetables, you cook it so much, I feel you're just eating chaff. So can it still be defined as junk when it has stayed too much? Maybe because you're trying to avoid the sausage, biscuits, donuts, you now keep your food so much. It's not the same thing.
If you notice, when I talked about meal prepping, you don't cook them.
Okay.
You only, let's say I cut up some vegetables. I'm not cooking it at that time.
Yeah, I'm asking for those
people
who
that
can
do.
store up because they don't want to eat junk.
Okay, because you don't want to eat junk. It's not junk food.
Okay.
But then, of course, like you rightly said, the nutritional values have reduced, but it's not still junk food. It's still a whole food. The nutritional, let's say, a typical vegetable that would have, let's say, pepper, okay, let me use carrot, that'll probably give you 20% of vitamin C or vitamin A rather, or something. Yeah. By the time you've done all this reheating, rewarming, and everything, right? Over time, probably, now the carrot will just give maybe 5%.
No.
But I'm just, this is a typical instance. But guess what? It's still better than someone that is feeding on junks. That's the very honest truth. So that's where intentional meal prepping makes the work easier. You may not, I'm not so much of an advocate of constant reheating, right? So what I would tell people is that if you have a very good, adequate power supply, the very best thing you could do for yourself is only take out what you would eat at a time. Yeah. Don't always do the whole, okay, I warmed, I push back into the fridge and that back and forth.
Right.
All right, thank you so much, Uju. It's been amazing listening to you, and I think I'll remember all the things you've said today, especially the fact that it's a build-up. So today you may not see the signs and all, but later in life you might just regret the fact that you've been feeding on junk. Exactly. That's a good one.
Thank you so much, Uju, for joining us. I like your smile.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, viewers. That was Uju Onora. And now we've been speaking with Obianuju, and of course you heard all she said. I would like you to share your thoughts on our social media platforms and also on the live chat below. We'll take a very quick break now. We'll come back for more interesting segments as we wrap up the show.